Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Always Moving podcast. I'm your host, Lyndon Suvanto, and this is episode 47 with the man, the legend, CEO and founder of SportsHosts, Darren Walls. How are you, sir?
CEO and legend. I'm not sure really the legend part fits, and I'm not sure the CEO fits because you sort of have to have a company worth a couple of billion, I think, to really claim that CEO title, right? So otherwise, it just seems a bit real. But man, 40. What did you say? 47 episodes that you've had.
Yeah.
That is impressive. So obviously you're running out of good guests. That's why you had to get me.
No,
I'm really glad to be here.
It's end of the show. That's why it's best for last. That's what it is. Yeah.
There you go.
So I was excited that you said you wanted to come on the show, and because I love your company, your product, what it is. Do you want to maybe tell everybody about SportsHosts?
Yeah, SportsHosts connects sports fans online and in real life. So if that's the one thing you want to take away from today, is that it's online and in real life. So we connect fans in real life to see live games together. And the kicker is the hosts don't charge, right? It's about getting real experiences, authentic experiences. It's not a tour product. And Lyndon, you've done it. We've sent you to games in the States, and you've met some locals. And the idea there is that, you get that real experience, right? You get to really be part of the team. And the crazy thing is when you meet people, they're like, how you got to come and do this. You've got to be part of this, right? Yeah. So you'll end up doing crazy things from there as well. I've done insane things. In Texas, I went shooting with some ex-Army guys because in Texas, seems you have to shoot a gun, right?
Yeah, exactly.
For indie bands in Toronto, dragging around Toronto in the all hours of the morning to you name it. I've done it around the world because of that. And online is, just about being able to communicate with other fans all the time and share different things from fantasy sport just to toy. You could be a Liverpool fan, but you live in America. It's being able to connect with those real Liverpool fans and, chew the fat and do stuff. And then also, hearing from really cool people, right? And great content creators online. So,
yeah, man.
So that's up.
Absolutely love it because, like you mentioned, I did it when I did the road trip. And as I see on your shirt, San Francisco was when I first experienced it. Well, as being hosted by someone. And do you know Steve? There's an older gentleman.
I do know Steve. Yeah.
That guy is a beauty.
Yeah, he loves. He's passionate. So tell people about your experience.
Yeah. So we're like, okay, we're gonna meet this guy Steve. We met outside by the statue, and he's an older gentleman. Like he's got to be late 60s, something like that, and he just diehard Giants guy. And he's just like, this is this. He points at one thing. The security all knew him. We went to the Gotham Club, I think it's called, behind the right field wall, and everyone's like, oh, hey, Steve, and he's telling stories about people that were in there. Then there's the McCovey Cove. I think his name's Dave, the guy, the kayaker. And he's like, oh yeah, he's there every day. And you learn all these stories that you would have to really get to like a big fan to find out. Cause he just took us around. He's like, oh, this play happened here. I remember this, or we don't like this player because of this. And to hear it from him firsthand and sit with him during the game, it was special.
It is special. And that Gotham Club you mentioned, I think that's, I think you can't get into that. I think, someone's got to die for someone else to get in. And even if you're a billionaire, but I think back in the day, it cost over $100,000 US to buy your ticket.
Oh, really?
And and the Gotham Club allows sports host fans, so the host to take in sports host fans, right? Yeah. So even the host, even though you've got a membership, you can't just take your friends, right? Yeah. You can't. But the San Francisco Giants and the Gotham Club allowed us. So I've been in, and we've had fans that have gone in. And even the executive of the Giants has said to us, like, shit, man, we don't even get to go in there, So one of my favorite times ever was being hosted by a San Francisco Giants fan. And And he took me in and exposed me to the delights of seriously good tequila, right? Which I always thought tequila was just a drink that, would kill you. And, you end up dancing on tables and screaming. But he introduced me to the finer world of tequila, right? And it was a memorable day, right? So there's always special memories when you do it.
Yeah. And the thing with Steve too, is he took us down kind of during the batting practice. There's that little caged area where you can go down and watch. Yeah. And a ball came in. And like I said, Steve's almost 70, gotta be, dove on the ground and got us this ball. And it's like, this guy loves this. You could tell he was just passionate about hosting and about the Giants, and he wanted to make our experience good. He's just on the ground, like fighting people to get this ball. I'm like, man, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, it is insane. And this is the crazy thing about how Sports Host came about, was that my background is tourism, right? So I and sport, right? But I was the director for 3 zoos in Victoria. So I was director of commerce and marketing. So everything that made money in these 3 zoos, and they had like about 1.7 million visitors a year. So it wasn't a small thing. And then I went and worked for one of the richest families in Melbourne, Australia, right? And the son-in-law was given a ski resort, as you do. Yeah. And he wanted to build a much bigger business, much bigger tourism business. So my job was to come in and to build a much bigger tourism business. So we built the biggest ice centre in Australia, or the Southern Hemisphere. It's the home of the Australian Winter Olympic Institute. I went across the States actually to learn about it. So Philly Flyers, and we helped us out building it and so forth, right? So it was pretty interesting. And so that's home of ice sports. We brought, international travel agencies. We built a retail business around mountain biking and skiing. It was all sort of, type things. So from there, we tried to work out, okay, what's the biggest trend in the world that we could surf, right? What was the biggest social trend ever, right? And that social trend, if you travel, is authenticity, right? No one wants to see your photos of you in front of the Eiffel Tower. It's like, it's boring, right? But people want to hear those stories about those crazy shit stories where you met locals, And for me personally, it's not even about telling others. It's about doing stuff that when you woke up in the morning, you'd have no idea it's ever going to happen to you. and that, to me, that's an amazing day when really good things happen, right? You never knew it. So that's all about meeting locals when you travel, right? That's right. So I was trying to think of a way that we could do this. And the other thing that I was trying to work on was anything to do with sexism, racism, inequality always drove me crazy, batshit crazy, man. I don't get it why it exists and why people think why it's a game people should play, right? So one day jogging, it's like bang, it just hit me. It was like sport's the thing that they'll connect with people. They'll do it for free, right? Yeah. And sport also unites us more than anything else does, right? So sport and beer, right? So they're good bedfellows, right? They bring people from around the world together. So that's how Sports Host started, and we thought it was crazy idea that would host for free. And the strange thing is, it's the easiest part of the whole business, right? And you just described it with Steve. People want to show off their team, right? They want to show off their city. They want to show off their sport, right? They love it, man. They absolutely love it, And if you think about your sport fandom, so what are your teams? Give us your teams.
So I'm a Blue Jays fan. I'm a Ravens guy, Boston Bruins, and what am I missing? I'm a New Orleans Pelicans fan. Because when I got into basketball, they just joined, and I'm like, you know what? I might as well start fresh. I don't want to be influenced by, a Michael Jordan or LeBron. I'm going to start with this new franchise, and it hasn't worked out that well. I can tell you that.
No, it hasn't. You got it. I was going to say you're eclectic, right? But Blue Jays, because you're a Toronto boy.
No, I'm from the West, but it's Canada's team. So when they did the playoffs, it was. Every time they're in the playoffs or doing something, it brings everybody, oh shit, I didn't know you liked baseball. And they don't. They like drinking beer and hanging out and watching sports.
Exactly. But if you think about your teams and you think about going to games, you've probably been, even if you're 25, you're probably going for the last 10 years with the same, say, 3 to 10 people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's your close buddies that you go with. So there's a whole opportunity, even with your buddies, is just, wow, we can, at home you can connect with anyone, but when you're away, you can connect with anyone, right? Yeah. And online you can connect with anyone. So if you think about it, there's 3.5 billion sports fans in the world, right? That you really, we could be bigger than any race, religion, country, right? You could connect to millions and billions of experiences just through sport, right? It's a batshit crazy idea, but it's fun, right?
So that to brush on what you said earlier about equality and how sport actually brings everyone together. That's how I first discovered SportsHosts. When I was living in Melbourne, there was Hawthorn Hawks. There was a pride event in Melbourne for the Aussie football. I'd never been to an Aussie football game. I saw this posting. I went to the pride event and all these people explained the game to me, and I felt way deeper connection than if I just bought some ticket and showed up. Because I'm like, well, why do they not like it when they kick 1 point or something? Like, why do they get upset? You got a point. And then the people that I was with, they're like, no, it's this and this, or you're born into this team. If your parents support, there's like Bulldogs or something, you're a Bulldogs fan. And then it was so cool to learn about it. And that's where it all started with SportsHosts for me, was at an event like that. So
that is awesome. And I remember those events, right? So look, it's our values and it's our core, right? The whole thing about equality. It's not something nice that we talk about in the brand. It's the whole reason that SportsHosts really exists, right? Yeah. And I think that people tell us that we can't change the world, right? That it's too hard, right? So if you think about it, you've got like one dude sitting in Russia right now, one dude, right? Doesn't answer to anyone that could change the course of the world. There's 7 billion people in the world and one dude can change the course of the world, right? Yeah. Like, are you shitting me, right? Are you really shitting me, right? And we're told that it's too hard to change the world, right? But yeah. I think the reason we've been told it's too hard, they want you to, it's sort of like you have to think that because change should be hard. I don't think it should be, right? Like if you think about sports and equality and getting together, right? You can seriously look at the Olympics. You can, get together, fans from across the world, from cross countries. We can actually start sharing our lives together and talking together and actually having fun and not making it hard, right? And sort of take the power back from these people, right? Your division, your idea that this game you play where you're trying to divide us, right? No, man. Like, I'm sort of sick of politics, right? It's just that get together, at a game. And because if you rip everything away from people, we're pretty cool at the core, right? And we're pretty similar, right? I think we all
you have to rip away a little more, but
yeah, of course. But that's the point, right? So I think that's the exciting part about sport. It can do that, right? Yeah. It can bring strange people together, people you would never meet. Normally. So what the Olympics did for athletes, we want to do for fans.
I love it. And I 100% agree. And just as you were talking there, my wife and I went to a Tampa Lightning game 2 days ago, and we're up in the top section. Beside us is 2 couples. They're just hammered drunk. In front, there's like a really old dude who like he was pretty heavy, older guy, but everybody after the game, we're all high-fiving. We didn't know anything about each other, but during the game, you're like, oh, they need to trade this guy, or, oh, fuck those guys, or whatever it is. But the sport, even, I'm not even a Lightning fan, but just going through, and it's like, I don't care how old you are, or how drunk you are, or whatever it is. It's crazy how much it does bring you together. So like when the Raptors won the title, Canada was crazy. It was basketball crazy. And like, people are packed into bars watching Raptors games, and they never even show them at bars before. And now all of a sudden it's just, basketball's huge. or bigger in Canada. So
Exactly. Well, you don't want Canadians losing a final. You know, they could also start tipping over cars. And
well,
this
being from
once
Edmonton, I
peaceful.
know they do that. So.
Yeah, because wasn't it Canucks or
Yeah,
back in the day in
the
Vancouver,
Bruins
right?
beat the Canucks,
So,
and then they started a riot downtown.
yeah, exactly. But now you got weed, right? So now you got weed legal. We should avoid any more future riots.
I think everyone will be okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So you brushed on it a little earlier. You mentioned some of the teams like the Giants and stuff. So what are some of the teams that you've partnershiped in different sports and in the, say, the major North American sports?
In North America, it was pretty crazy because this is pre-COVID. In 2018, we went to the States. We talked to 4 major league teams and 3 of them signed on, right? And that's just because we were right at the right time. Yeah. So we work with San Francisco Giants, hence my shirt. And we strategically picked them. The Giants are the most innovative in the Major League Baseball because Major League Baseball is not innovative, right?
It's an old boys club.
Well, they're losing, the figures, but, with before COVID, they were down 10% in, 3 years, right? You can't lose that amount of your audience and go. And when I met the executive at Major League Baseball, right, I can tell you there's a reason why they're losing 10% because these guys are working really hard on the plan to fuck baseball, right? They are not bright, right? They are stuck in 1995, right? And maybe 1965 for some of them, right? But they're not bright, right? Yeah. They're but the San Francisco Giants, complete opposite, right? This is a team of innovators. I've never worked with such cool people in my life, right? They've become friends. But that's why we wanted the Giants. Then NYCFC, New York City Football Club, they were part of the City Group, so they were global. And then we worked with the Brooklyn Nets. And the Brooklyn Nets was the first major league team in the States that hired a tourism director, right? So the first team that actually said, okay, we need to, everyone's sending everyone over to China or overseas and creating offices overseas. They're like, well, hell, Dan, we're in New York. There's 10 million visitors come through a year. We can do a lot at home, right? So they were really interested in what we were doing and worked with an amazing woman there that was the director of tourism, Louisa. And, so we partnered with them. And the thing about it was that our fans, if you're part of SportsHosts, you got to do special things. So the San Francisco Giants, there were bleacher parties, you got to go on the ground. There was trips away with JetBlue and so forth at the Brooklyn Nets. Again, we had trips away, right? So you could win flights and accommodation paid for and so forth. So, and the parties we had at NYCFC, and that's probably one of my biggest surprises in the States, right? I thought MLS was going to be boring. Hell no. They are some of the most exciting fans. And the parties we had at NYCFC were amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to a Toronto FC game and I'm like, I've never been. Let's go check it out. And it was awesome. They had their sections. They're singing their songs. They're lighting their torches. It was pretty cool.
Oh, it is really cool. It is really cool.
So I know we're short on time today. I was just curious, what's next for you guys coming out of COVID? What's kind of the plan moving forward?
Well, COVID was like stepping onto a highway and being hit by, a giant truck, right? It's we were connecting people in real life at sport. That stopped, right?
Yeah.
We got us through 2022. We want to bring it back. We still have to be careful in America with COVID and connecting people, but we'll be back in real life this year. We started in India with some events in December. And, we're going to be in Argentina, Mexico, and the States. So we really want to get that going again and get people actually connecting, but safely and responsibly, right? So that's the really big thing. We're also, we're going to be launching, and we could get us back at some stage. We'd love to talk about it. We're going to be launching, a whole, stream to what we do around equality and bringing people together. A bit of a movement, right? So I won't tell you because it hasn't been launched yet, but it's going to be something exciting around. We can get everyone around the world to take a bit of control around, and make us feel good that there are other people like us that do believe in equality and do believe in cool stuff, not just, want to divide the world.
Wonderful. And when that launches or about to launch, we'll get you back on. We'll talk about it.
Love to. Man, I cannot thank you enough for your time. And I think you're just doing what you did in Australia and getting to know what we did with SportsHosts, then doing it in the States, because I forgot about Australia, to be honest. That is just awesome. And the fact that we've stayed in touch for this time, I think says a lot about it's true about what we're talking about. So well done on your book. We've been really impressed by that.
Thank you.
So man, just keep having fun, keep shooting, and we'd love to talk to you again.
Absolutely. Darren, do you have time for a quick rapid fire?
I've got 1 minute.
Wonderful. You're going on a trip. Are you going to the mountain or the beach?
Mountains.
Why does Arvo mean afternoon?
I don't know. We like to put O on everything. So afternoon, it was just short. We like to shorten and put an O, right? So it's just how it is.
What's the best meal you make?
The best meal I make probably is a crispy snapper fish with Asian vegetables.
Nice. That'd kill here in Florida.
Yeah.
Darren, I don't want to keep you much longer, but thank you very much. To everyone listening, this is Darren Walls of SportsHosts. I'll put links all in the bio when I share this episode. And to everyone listening, this has been episode 47 of the Always Moving podcast. I'm your host, Lyndon Suvanto, and as we say around here, let's keep things moving.